Hey, what's going on, guys? We're going to be installing a HUD unit on a C6 Corvette. Stay tuned. So let's go over the parts that we're going to need. We need a genuine GM HUD unit. You can get one out of a previously salvaged C6 Corvette. They came out with, I believe, 2 GM part numbers. One has been discontinued. Well, I guess they've both been discontinued, but one's more up to date, and I'll include that in the description below. We're going to need the bezel for the HUD unit. We're going to need a custom harness for the HUD unit, which will actually go to the switch. You'll need the HUD switch right here, vampire taps for your harness, trim tool to help pry, foil tape for the air duct, cable saw for the air duct, socket extension, 7mm, 10mm, needle nose pliers, and a little bit of hardware for mounting the unit. Well, let's understand what we're going to be doing before we go out there and do it. As with any electrical project, we should be rolling down the windows and disconnecting the battery ahead of time. After we have the battery disconnected, windows rolled down, doors open, we're going to want to remove this trim piece. Trim piece has little attaching parts, little clips that just stick in, and you can pop these all out with just a simple trim tool. After you pop it out, there will be cables connected at different points, and I'll include a photo. After we remove the trim, we're going to want to remove the gauge cluster. The gauge cluster is mounted by, I believe, 4 bolts. They're all 7mm sockets. The tops are different than the bottoms, so separate them accordingly. The next part of this is going to be removing the air duct that's in the way of where we're going to be mounting the HUD unit. All previous explanations or methods of cutting this have been pretty dangerous, so I'm hoping this is a lot better for a lot of people. I'm going to be using a PVC cable saw, and this should go right through it, make a pretty clean cut. We can deburr with a knife, and then after we're done, we can reattach it with some foil. Now that our air duct is going to be out of the way, we're going to want to slip in the HUD unit. A lot of people cut these ahead of time. I'm going to try it without it, but if I need to, I'll go ahead and cut these. The salvage yard was kind enough to include part of the mounting hardware, which is this clip with a bolt in it. The clip acts like a nut, and this is all for mounting the HUD assembly. So go ahead and slip that in there, and that'll be it. And this is going to be everybody's favorite part, the splicing. How does this cable work? So we're going to see that there is a brown plug right here, and depending on who you order this part from, this is not a GN genuine part, this is an aftermarket part, but it will do. So you're going to have 4 cables coming out of one side, and usually about 2 coming out the other side. I got one in the middle, and, one over here. The one with the 4 cables is going to plug directly into your HUD unit. The blue side, or the other side, is going to plug into your HUD switch. Right here in the back. Now, in the previous PDFs that have been released for version 2, they have a beautiful pinout, which I'll include the link in the description. So just double check based on the pins where you're plugging them. Reference the pinout. It will help you. When I bought this harness, they gave me somewhat of an instruction sheet. I'll include a better photo, but they also show or tell me which wires to splice with which color. Now there's 2 black ones, so it gets kind of confusing, so that's where you want to reference your pinout. Compare your pinout to the sheet, but I'll show you. Now, these 4 wires should be connecting into one side of one harness, and the other 2 wires should be spliced into the other harness. So these will go into the gray harness, these will go into the black harness. In the PDF, they include a nice photo showing the gray harness and the black harness being split. So I'll try to include some more photos when I get out there. Alright, now it's time for reassembly. We're going to put our duct back into place. Use some foil tape. After that, make sure that you feed the wire that goes to your HUD switch out through the side of your gauge cluster before you put your gauge cluster back in. That way it can reach your switch. Then remount your gauge cluster. Put your trim back in, make sure it includes your new switch, plug your new switch in, and you'll probably just have to play around with the switches, make sure the lighting's good, make sure the position's right. Other than that, you should be all set.